Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV. The main talking points on tonight's programme: the Player of the Year nominees have been revealed, with no fewer than 2 Dundee players in the running. There are 2 Hibs players in the young player category. And in other news, Lee Clark, the Kilmarnock boss, says the players are playing to save jobs at Rugby Park. That's just a few of the topics we'll be discussing tonight. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin, and I'm delighted that we have Dundee assistant coach Gerry McCabe as our bookroom guest this evening. And what better way to start, Gerry, than say well done, 2 guys in the Player of the Year nominees.
Yeah, brilliant. And Greg Stewart, second year in a row been nominated for the PFA award. Great award for the season the 2 players have had, and obviously Greg's performances on the ball and his creative play been tremendous to watch this year. And Kane Hemmings, 25 goals and counting. Hope he scores a few more between now and the end of the season. But great just for themselves personally and for the team and the club, and hopefully one of them going and win it.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be thanking me for this line, and apologies to all Dundee fans watching the programme, but how do you hold on to guys like that when they're attracting attention? I mean, already today, earlier on when he was interviewed, Kane Hemmings just said, look, if English clubs come calling, then obviously you're going to have to be interested. You want to go and play, take your career on. Yeah,
of course he's right. You want to play at the highest level he possibly can. He knows that the managers gave him a platform to come and play at Dundee, and he's took it. And Greg Stewart's the same. And obviously with the seasons they've had, they're going to attract attention from bigger clubs. No disrespect to our club at Dundee, but when you've scored 25 goals and if anyone's been watching Greg Stewart, the performances he's putting in, week out, he's certainly the bigger guns are going to come calling.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 players, we'll have a look at the 4 nominees. They've got their work cut out to try and win the award, because there's Lee Griffiths with 38 goals and Johnny Hayes in there as well. Is that a surprise to you, Ruffy? Or was there maybe someone else that you thought might have got in there?
No, not for me.
No?
I think Hayes has had a fantastic season. I think when Aberdeen were in full flow, he was the guy who was making them tick. He had everything going for him. He was scoring goals. He had the pace to hurt people. And unfortunately for the Dundee boys, I think in any other year, with Lee Griffiths on 38 goals, I think he might just nick it in front of them. But it's all credit to Dundee, because I've said all along this year that the style of play and the way you went about it, you've went out to win games, you've picked teams, attacking teams, you've picked teams with strikers in them, goal scorers, and sometimes it's backfired on you. But the majority of the time you've entertained, and you can see why the Dundee supporters have had a good year.
Yeah, is it fair to say, Gerry, that draws have killed you?
Yes, when you look over the season, I know the disappointing not getting into the top 6. Obviously it was in our own hands getting down to the last game against Hamilton. But when we look back in the season, 14 draws, that's 10 victories now. But I think in 7 of the draws we had been in the lead. And it'd been great if we'd have got there. As it says, Ross County pipped us for it. Partick Thistle had a great chance to get well. They had their chance as well, and Inverness. And it's been tight all season. We've been in about 5th, 6th, 7th all season. Pierre, Ross County claimed they were 4th, 5th around about most of the season. So obviously someone was going to be disappointed, but to be in your own hands, getting into the last game and letting it slip was very disappointing.
Yeah, there is, I think for Dundee fans, I'm not necessarily saying for you as a professional, but for Dundee fans there's a silver lining to this, and it could be at Dens Park on Monday night. Is that fair?
Well, obviously when the split came, I think they were trying to avoid this situation, but I think Dundee United, if they're honest, it's over the course of the season what's happened to them. It's for the Dundee fans, I think they're certainly looking forward to this. We just look for the 3 points. We're missing out in the top 6. We say try and be the best of the rest and finish 7th. We're in 7th position now, and obviously we'll just be going about the business we have been doing, approaching the game the same way we have approached the games. 3 points, yes, but I know there'll be extra incentive for our supporters to have a good day on Monday, a good evening Monday night.
Yeah, and can I just, before I get your thoughts on it, Ruffy, and obviously I think people now know on the programme that Ruffy will defend Dundee United and tip them for a big win against Dundee. Let's find that out in a couple of minutes. But as far as losing Dundee United, if they do indeed go down, it's a kind of a double-edged sword for you guys, because the derby is so eagerly anticipated in that city. I mean, that's a blow. I mean, as well as the needle that you always get in rivalry.
Yeah. Financially, yes, for the city, it's not great. But obviously Dundee have been down in the Championship division a few times, and I think Dundee United have, I don't think their fans gave the Dundee fans much sympathy. But when you look at it, I've been involved in the Edinburgh derby with Bobby. Kilmarnock United was quite a big derby, but this is this derby. Obviously, I really enjoy, Peter. I don't think there's much badness. That the family split up there. Some will say, my brother's a Dundee United fan, but I'm a Dundee fan, and all that. You wouldn't get that through in the west of Scotland, But really enjoyable games to play. Obviously, when last year we lost 6-2 in the New Year game, it was a bit really downer for us. But we knew what it meant to the fans. But since then, we've held our own. We've had a few good results against them, and I think, I think it'll be missed. I think it'll be sorely missed.
I could see a glint in your eye there, Gerry, and the reason for that is because he drinks in a pub, Ruffy, where one half don't mix with the other half. In Dundee, that wouldn't happen, but in the west of Scotland, it's the other does, Ruffy.
They're still good friends,
Listen. Monday night, surely.
Well, obviously, if they get beat, you would say that was curtains. But I mean, we've been in the game long enough to know, as long as there's still points available, you have to hang on in there. But the result of the weekend was a massive blow. To lose at home doesn't give you any confidence to go into this game. But I think it'll be Kilmarnock that'll probably seal their fate, because I think if Kilmarnock win one game, that would be it.
Yeah, and of course, it brings us nicely on to the point that Lee Clark is talking about, which is Kilmarnock suddenly have got Hamilton Accies at New Douglas Park, Ruffy, and they're in a situation where Lee Clark has said basically the players are playing to save jobs at Rugby Park.
Yeah, I think the players are realistic enough to know that when you're in that kind of situation, there are other people as well as the players that it's going to affect if they go down a division. And we've seen it in other clubs when it's happened, that sometimes it can be drastic. So it's up to the players to dig in and try and keep them in a division.
Yeah, I mean, that's the real downside to the football situations. The more I look at it, the more I can see now we have Dundee United relegated, Kilmarnock in the playoffs. And it's one of those seasons where you wouldn't look with any great confidence at possibly playing, Raith Rovers, Falkirk, Hibs?
Especially, the form Raith Rovers are in, Falkirk and Hibs, you say, the three of them are hitting form now. And it's very difficult, if you're down in that situation and in the relegation zone, you're not getting the performance, you're not getting the results, and the teams below it, the top three teams in the first division that you could possibly meet, they're in the up and they've got a bit of momentum going. Hamilton done it against Hibs a few years ago, but over the course of the season, I know when it comes down to the last 4 or 5 games and things get a wee bit desperate, but you try and keep the players up. You try, as Ruffy said, there's points here to be played for. And Kilmarnock will be desperate, to try and put pressure on Hamilton on Saturday. They beat Hamilton and obviously get away from Dundee United. But that's the situation you're in, and it doesn't just affect the players, the manager, the coaches. It affects the full club, everyone at the club, and and it's not a nice situation to be in.
Yeah, and just mentioning that little bit of needle that we like, there's a bit of needle last night concerning Hibs and Dumbarton. I thought it would be 4, 5, 6 goals in Hibs' favour because they're chasing it against Falkirk. And Peter Houston had a little dig questioning maybe the commitment of Dumbarton, and I think Alan Stubbs and Steve Aitken got a little bit prickly at that suggestion.
Yeah, I think that was a silly comment to make. I think professional football players go out to do well for themselves and their teammates, so I would have thought they would out there. They wouldn't have down tools just because it was Hibs. So, no, I think you have to give credit to Hibs for getting the 4 goals. Yeah,
that's what's called in the game a classic noise-up, Ruffy, just to try and throw it in there to try and get that last little bit of energy I think I can remember Sir Alex Ferguson doing it to Kevin Keegan when Newcastle were coming up against Leeds United.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember it clearly on air, and it was there for everybody to see. He absolutely just lost it completely. But no, I think Alan Stubbs has proved that he's not going to rise to the bait for anybody.
Okay, many a professional footballer will say you can't just turn on for him if you're off for him. We'll get the thoughts of these two guys on Rangers' performance last night. A number of their players are saying they'll be well up for it. Barry Mackay saying they'll be up for the cup final when Hibs come calling to Hampden. We'll talk about Livingston against Rangers. We're going to talk about the young player nominees next as well. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's football show here on STV. Alan Ruff and our bookroom guest Gerry McCabe, the assistant coach at Dundee, here in the studio to talk football. We've been discussing the Player of the Year nominations. What about the young player? Well, anything Dundee can do, Hibs can do as well. Two nominees in there, Jason Cummings and John McGinn, with Barry Mackay and Kieran Tierney. Ruffy, is that the four you would have picked at the start?
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic selection there. I think every one of them in their own right has had a fantastic season. If you were to push me, I'd probably go for Kieran Tierney. Came into the team, you know, he's been absolutely unbelievable, you know, for a young player to come in and hold out an international player, and most of the games he's played, he's been super, and obviously the rise to the Scottish national team, just to get a wee taste of that as well. I think he's definitely one for the future.
Yeah, I've always had this feeling that Gordon Strachan, when he was picking his squad, would have two or three youngsters emerge that might actually, you know, come into his line of sight for the World Cup qualifiers, Gerry.
Yes, he done it with Andrew Robertson, didn't he, when he had a good season, went down in Hull City and brought him in. I don't think Gordon's no frightened to bring him in. And I agree with Ruffy there about Kieran Tierney. You know, he's playing, you're talking about the SPL, and he's performing week in, week out. Come in, and Celtic, obviously, they've not had great performances this season, but he's really been a standout. Brilliant. The other three lads have had great seasons as well. But for me, Kieran Tierney as well, coming into the SPL, and obviously probably going to win the league the next game or two, and his performances have been outstanding. Yeah,
I particularly think that Barry Mackay is a great role model, Ruffy, for other youngsters, because you know, sometimes you can go out and loan, you can maybe lose focus, lose sight of going back to the big club and trying to make it. But Barry Mackay says he never thought he wouldn't get a chance to make it at Rangers, and I think that belief is something that other young players should take from Barry being in the Final Four.
Yeah, all credit to him. You know, he's handled the situation well. There's lots of players when they're at a big club and all of a sudden they get told they're going out on loan, can get a bit delusioned, their heads can go down, they maybe think that's their future finished, but he's dug in, he's went to the clubs, he's proved to his own club that he's worth a shot, and he's come back and he's been absolutely exceptional.
Got to talk about the two Hibs players because, okay, John McGinn would have caught the eye of a number of teams when he was at St Mirren, but nobody decided to make that move other than Hibs. Alan Stubbs has got a player there that everybody is raving about week in, week out.
Yeah, right good player. I've watched John for years, you know, as a young kid and coming through, and obviously was at one point he was always going to leave St Mirren. Credit to Alan Stubbs in Hibs, paid some money for him and got him in, performed brilliantly this season. We had a wee interest in him at one time, you know, we fancied John, you know, but obviously Hibs have got the finances to bring him in, and they knew, you know, if I bring John McGinn in here, I've got a great chance, you know, of winning the championship, or obviously the playoffs. But and another one that's been selected for Scotland, and I watched his debut for Scotland, and I thought he had a great game that night. And I think he's destined for bigger and better things. Yeah,
and again, apologies to Hibs fans, because no sooner do we talk about Dundee players attracting attention, these two guys are undoubtedly going to attract attention. How good is Cummings? Is there anything missing that you think he still has to develop?
I think as the seasons went on, he's matured. You know, I think he went through a wee sticky spell. You know, I think he started to believe that he was a better player than what he was. But I think Alan Stubbs identified that and left him out for 2 or 3 games. But he's came back bigger and better. He was running the line himself for a while until they brought Stokes in. So he's helped him a wee, took the pressure off him a wee bit. But no, everything he's done, I think he's got a lot maturer as the seasons went on.
Here's a word you know only too well, Gerry: Gallus.
That's what Jason Cummins is, Gallus. I like that in a player, certainly, you know, but as long as they use it in the right way and they back it up. And you can't, you know, discount the goals he scored and the player he's been for Hibs. He's been a big player for Hibs. I know if they hadn't been through to the final with his penalty chip, you know, that could have haunted him for a long time. But he goes and scores a winning penalty, and it just shows, you know, the bottle he's got to go up and take it and get them through to the final. And as Robbie says, I think he'll learn. I think he'll mature, and he's certainly got the talent.
Yeah, we've got a bumper weekend ahead as far as Scottish football is concerned. It's down to the business end of the season. As far as the Championship is concerned, I think Hibs and Falkirk know what's at stake. There it is, Sunday, 12:30, Alloa Dumbarton, Falkirk Morton, Hibs against Queen of the South, Livingston against Wraith Rovers, and St Mirren against Rangers. There's a 3-goal swing that has to take place, Ruffy, for Hibs to somehow, you know, budge Falkirk out of that second place. Can you see it happening?
Yeah, I can. I think in that kind of game, you know, everybody knows what's at stake. I think Hibs have got the easier of the two games. Obviously, with Queen of the South losing their manager. But I do think the 4 goals last night, they'll be getting into that game with a lot of confidence, knowing they've got goal scorers on their side. I can see Falkirk maybe drawing. I can't see them getting beat. So it's up to Hibs to score the goals.
Yeah. Would you back them to score 3 more than?
Yeah, well, Queen of the South, they've faltered. You know, I tipped them to be in the top 4 this season. Although they lost a lot of players last year. One to us, Kevin Holt, and they had a good run for a wee while. Then they faltered, and obviously with losing their manager. They've still got a good bit of experience in. They have experienced players. I watched Morton last week against St Mirren. They're a hard team to beat. They're a good side when they're on the ball. They play, and I think it'll be a difficult game for Falkirk. But I think it's still in Peter Hussain's hands, you know, to get that second spot.
Okay, a couple of points that I want to talk about before we finish tonight's programme. One of the guys that we've had as a regular guest over the last couple of seasons, Ruffy, on the programme, Jim Goodwin, has mentioned that he will be saying farewell to St Mirren. He's been for me, a really good professional at St Mirren. He's part of that League Cup winning side as well. But he's going to move on. Whether it's still in Scotland, he had a chance to go to America as well.
Yeah, I mean, we had him in and he still wants to play. Obviously, there's a stage in everybody's career when you have to say, well, maybe move on, try something else. And that's, America might be the place for him. I'm sure, like all modern day players now, he'll want to have done his coaching badges, he'll want to keep in the game as long as possible. So we'll just have to wait and see what his decision is.
Yeah, a good lad, Jim. There was a wee period where even when he was coming on the programme, he was getting sent off on a regular basis, picking up bookings right, left and centre. But he's the type of player, you know what you get with him over his career. Yes,
I've known Jim a long time. I remember when I was coaching at Celtic way back in 94, 95, and he was a young kid and he came over with the Irish lads. And even then, you know, he was 15-year-old, but he was always a very talkative person, you know, he organising the kids that come over and making sure they were okay, looking after them. And even then, you're saying, you know, he had a wee bit of authority over them. And obviously, his career took on from there. And I watched him last week again, as I said, about the St Mirren Morton game, and the ovation he got when he came on was great. And Jim, as I say, I think his reputation's preceded him a few times, whereas things have not been as bad as what they are, but it's been given against him in these red cards. But a great lad, you know, and he's been a great servant to St Mirren, and I hope wherever he goes, you know, he continues to be involved in football. Yeah, absolutely. We wish him well. Jim Goodwin saying farewell to St Mirren over the weekend. I'm sure the Buddies fans will give him a huge round of applause and appreciation. Okay. It was 0-0 last night, Ruffy. They couldn't separate them. Joe Hart was, I think, man of the match. That tells you everything you need to know about it. Have Man City blown their chance, or can they go and win in the Bernabeu?
Yeah, I think he'll have to be man of the match in the next game as well. It'll have to be one of these kind of performances. Obviously, they'll be saying to themselves they can get one each, you know, but on the night, you know, if they turn it on, you know, it's going to be a hard ask. But we've seen goalkeepers come up with these kind of performances before. Yep.
Okay, it's Atletico against Bayern Munich tonight. I've got to get your thoughts. Who do you think's eventually going to win the Champions League, Gerry?
I think, well, Bayern. I think I know it's a difficult game tonight. They're talking about, you know, obviously Atletico don't lose many goals, but Bayern have certainly got goals in them. And for me, I think the final will be between Bayern and Real Madrid.
Yeah, which would be...
Which pains me to say.
Yeah, which would be a humdinger. Do you agree with that, Ruffy, or are you going
Yeah,
against
I'm still with Bayern. It looks as if, obviously, with Real having the home advantage, you would think that would be the final. I think it'll be a great final. Great players on show. It'll be a fantastic night.
Yeah, and just one little thing to finish. Well done to Alan Johnson. Signs a new deal at Dunfermline. Just reward for delivering the championship.
Yes, the whole club, where they've come from in the last 2 or 3 years, is fantastic for everybody there, and they'll be a big asset to the new league.
Yep, absolutely. Congratulations to Alan Johnson signing a new deal. Thanks to Gerry McCabe. It's going to be one heck of a place to be at Dens Park on Monday night. Not for the faint-hearted. Will Dundee inflict the final bit of pain on Dundee United? We'll certainly keep our eye on that. Best wishes to Gerry and Paul Hartley and Dundee for the rest of the season. From Ruffy and myself, join us tomorrow when Mark Guidi will be our boot room guest. Thanks for watching. Good night.